Amazing, 50,000 views. Thank you so much, you guys. I'm Alana and welcome to my crafting channel at Upcycling NZ. To celebrate, I'm going to show you a few pics of some of the stuff I've been making over the last few months. You're likely to hear a few shout outs in this video. Numero uno, shout out to Lynn, my hometown girl. Always love your comments. So I've been so humbled to get 50,000 views on my channel. That means that my videos were looked at 50,000 times. That's a lot. I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm thinking my next long-term goal will be the 100,000 views. And I think when I reach that target, I'll do an in-person video instead of just my hands doing my crafts. So we'll take this silverware today, a little sugar bowl and a milk jug. And I'm going to take some sage chalk paint and paint those, leaving the bottoms silver, the handles silver, and leaving the insides. Shout out to Julie. I think Julie will like these. Julie's comments have helped me a lot and have been very constructive. So I'll give these little items a second good coat. And once they're fully dry, I'll take some antiquing wax and I'm going to paint that around the edges and into the crevices to age this and make it look more vintage. Just wiping back a little bit with a wet wipe and ensuring there's a lot of that colour around the creases. Shout out to Nat over in Queensland. I've been having some lovely conversations with Nat in the comments. So last week I got an order in from Temu and I got these beautiful rose transfers in that order. I'm cutting out some of the smaller floral details that will fit on these little items. And with these you just peel back the backing and it has a slight adhesive quality to it. That allows you to place it where you want it and start to rub off the image with the tools provided. You'll see it lifting from the film, especially if you work from one side to the other. It will need burnishing and you can do that with your finger or with a piece of the film that the transfer came from. Shout out to Fran, thanks for supporting me in my YouTube journey, and Sue and Gert from @Gert Creates. Check out Gert's channel, it's great. I'm loving these transfers and they look like they've been painted on in great detail. The next item is this little wooden cage holder. I don't know what it would have been used for, but I picked that up for $1 at a thrift store. I bought this salt grinder and I had a couple that I cleaned out that I had in my cupboard. I'm going to mask off an area the width of a piece of masking tape at the bottom and at the top of the jars. And this will allow you to see the contents just ever so slightly of what's inside them. So I'm going to paint these with a snow white chalk paint, and this is just going to serve as an undercoat because it adheres better to the glass than my top coat will, which is a acrylic house paint. This colour is called Craigburn. It's a lovely sort of mushroomy kind of colour, and I needed 2 coats of that. I'll do transfers on these as well, but I've allowed that to dry really, really well. Shout out to Julie, who's a friend of mine here in New Zealand. Her alias is Timekeeper. Your support's been wonderful. Also shout out to PD Mulgirl from Utah. Thanks so much for your positive affirmations. I've also had some wonderful support from Resin Artists. Her channel is called @Resin Artists and is a great watch if you are into seeing some beautiful resin moulded art. I'm taking a Stanley knife and just scoring the surface between the masking tape and the paint. I just don't want to peel off that paint when I remove it. These are looking gorgeous. There's just a little raised surface between the edge and the glass there. I'm just going to buff that off gently with some fine grit sandpaper. It'll give it a slightly distressed look, but it'll also stop it from catching and peeling off paint in the future. And I'm just going to use up all the bits and pieces that were left over from my offcuts. And I'm just adding that randomly to the wooden frame. Shout out to Julia. Thank you for taking your time out to watch my videos. So I'm really pleased with how these are looking. It's the 3 finished. And I've filled these with new packets of seasoning. That one's black pepper and this one is red chili flakes. The packet wasn't quite big enough for that. I'll have to buy another one and top it up. And I love how these look inside this holder. They fit perfectly. The next item is this bamboo cutting board, which is on a riser with some little feet. It's perfectly functional. I got it from a thrift store for a few dollars, but it's pretty plain, so I'm going to give this a makeover. I'll take some white chalk paint in the colour Snow and give that a really good coat on the surface and all around the sides. I'll leave the bottom unpainted. Big shout out to the people from Crafters United. I felt very supported by you all after doing a collaboration with Mini Scenes GB. I'm just sanding back any paint strokes that I've put on the surface there. I'm taking some antiquing wax and I'm going to age the chopping board a little bit with a damp sponge. So I'm just lightly applying that all over and concentrating more colour around the edges and the sides. I'll wipe some of that back with a wet wipe until I like how it looks. So I have a big shout out for Tracy at Mini Scenes GB. She actually supports a lot of smaller channels. She's a large channel with lots of subscribers, and she invites smaller channels to join in collaborations with her to try to get some more exposure for them. So thanks a lot for that, Tracy. So here I've attached a stencil just with masking tape to the board, and I'm taking a dry brush and I'm just stippling paint into the stencil areas. This assists in making sure that you don't get too much bleeding. The drier the brush and the longer it takes, the better your stencil will be. And I'm just going to remove that so you can see how beautiful that makes this board look. I still felt like it needed something else, so I'm taking a sheet of glass and some black chalk paint, and I just painted onto the glass and spread it out smoothly so that there's no build-up of paint in any one area. And I'm taking some stamps. I also got these from Temu, and I'm using the paint as a stamp pad. It's always a good idea to look at your stamp and assess whether there's paint on every area of your stamp. And when you apply it, try to provide firm grip on the stamp and press all the areas down. I missed a tiny bit on this stamp, but that's okay. I like the look. And I'll just continue with that, putting stamps in all 4 corners. I have so many more viewers that I'd love to do shout outs for, but for now I'm just going to say thank you all so much. I couldn't have done it without you, and I certainly wouldn't have got the 50,000 views. I love you guys, really appreciate you. This didn't quite look old or distressed enough for me, so I'm just putting a little bit of that black chalk paint on a white wet wipe. And I'm just adding a bit of contrast around the sides and corners of the tray, and I'll wipe that back until I like the way that it looks. And that one's done. Now all that's left to do is to put a sealer coat, and I'm using Rust-Oleum clear coat in a matte finish. And I applied that to everything that I made today.